not all shared subjective reality is true. So what I write about in my book is how to study the culturescape, the shared subjective realities we are living in, and identify what rules help you and what rules are really Brules or bullshit rules. Brules that hold you back from truly living your most extraordinary life. So let me give you an example of a bullshit rule. Growing up in an Indian family, there's a lot of pressure to be successful. Your family pushes you to be a lawyer, a doctor, or an engineer. And if you're not any of that, you're a family embarrassment. So in my case, I loved art. I viewed artists, the idea of me being an artist, as disappointing my family, as the opposite of success. So I signed up for computer engineering classes. I studied hard, went through all of these boring as hell classes that I had no interest in at the University of Michigan, so that 5 years later, I could get a job at Microsoft. And now, boom, I was it. I was working for Bill Gates. I was at Microsoft. 11 weeks into Microsoft, I realized I was miserable, and I quit cold turkey. I realized that for 5 years I was pursuing something that I had no interest in because the rules of the culturescape of being a good Indian kid said, be a software programmer. So I quit. I joined a nonprofit, and that's really when my life began. I dabbled in different things from traveling around the world to meditation to art, but it was through following these passions, it was through ignoring the bullshit rules of the culturescape, identifying what really drove me, what made me passionate, that I was able to build the life I have today. And that's really why I'm so adamant about teaching people through my work to question everything, to question your religion, to question your societal rules, to question the idea of a college degree. That's how I feel all of us should be living life, by questioning everything. And I don't mean being skeptical of everything, there's a difference. I mean healthy skepticism, ultimately questioning the rules of the culturescape so we can stay true to our own inner identity. I think the idea of goal setting in the Western world is rubbish. Because here's what happened. When you ask people to set goals, even if you teach them methodologies like SMART, SMART goal setting, you are basically encouraging people to set goals based on that same culturescape with its restricting rules. So people, especially in the United States, set goals along the lines of this. Okay, we need to get good grades so I can graduate high school, so I can get into a good college, need to study hard to get a good GPA, so maybe I can go to graduate school, or maybe I can do well in my LSAT, that becomes the next goal, get into law school, the next goal, graduate from law school, get into a partnership, become a lawyer. And that's how teenagers often think about their life, these series of like ticks that they have to go through. But here's what happens. Let's actually look at that. Let's look at lawyers. 50% of lawyers in America are clinically depressed. It's not just the US, I think Australia did a similar study. So why are kids going into these professions where they end up in a job that they thought was a good goal at one point, only to find themselves absolutely miserable? We set our goals to have 2 cars and a house of a certain size, to be in a marriage. It's because these goals aren't coming from inside us. They're coming from the culturescape. And the culturescape is basically a safety net mechanism. You see, for the longest time in human history, we had to watch out for each other. There were wars, there were disease. Go back 1,000 years, there were wild animals that might kill you. So you had to follow certain rules of the culturescape to stay safe. Among these were get a good education, so you are not stuck in a factory job, so that you can have a blue-collar job. It was get married, so if you're a woman, you have a man to provide for you. It was have 5 kids, because if you go back 50 years ago, infant mortality was so much higher. You had 5 kids, 2 were gonna probably pass away. But the problem is, people continue with these same rules in today's world when everything has changed. So the thing is, I don't believe in goal setting, because when you teach traditional goal setting, people are locked into the rules of the culturescape. So here's what I suggest. I suggest we ask ourselves 3 questions, and I call these the 3 most important questions. Now, the first question is this. It's what experiences do I want to have? Okay, now I'll tell you why that's important. You see, there are 2 types of goals. There are means goals and there are end goals. So people tend to chase means goals, not realizing these are very different from end goals. A means goal is do well in my LSAT, graduate from college, get that particular job, save up for retirement. But if you ask these people, why do you want that? There's always a so. Well, I want to qualify for college, so I can do this. Want to become a lawyer, so I can do this. Well, the so leads you to the end goal. Now, what are end goals? End goals are these things that really lead to the the beauty of being human. It's waking up next to someone you madly love. It's holding your first child in your arms. It's having a puppy. It's seeing your business open for the first time. It's making that, getting that first customer. It's completing your first book. It's creating a work of art and having people admire it and fall in love with it. These are end goals. So what I advocate is, and the three most important question is, forget the means goals. Means goals are goals designed by the culturescape. Instead, go straight to the end goals. Now, the first question you ask yourself to identify your end goals is, what experiences do I want to have in life? And this is where you start writing down your experiences. When I do this exercise, I ask people to take out a piece of paper. So if you're watching, do that right now. Take out a piece of paper, 3 columns. Top of the first column, you're going to write down experiences, right? And ask yourself, what experiences do I want to have? Who do I want to wake up with? What type of house do I want to live in? What countries do I want to visit? Where do I want to travel to? What adventures do I want to have? Whether it's climbing Mount Kinabalu or hiking the Andes. What type of family life do I want? What dog do I want? The beautiful thing about experiences is often they don't require that much money. It's crazy. We associate money with happiness, but often the most beautiful experiences in life require no money. Almost any human being today can fall in love, can make a baby. These are some of the most profound experiences I've had. So the first thing is you make a list of your experiences. Now the second thing is you ask yourself this question. For me to be the man or woman who has all of these experiences, how do I have to grow? And here we come to the second list. See, I believe we are souls having a human experience here on planet Earth. But these souls are not just here to explore all of these wonderful things about being human. I believe as souls, as human beings, we crave growth. Human beings are growth-driven machines. And so you make that second list. And that second list is, how do I want to grow? How can I learn to be a better father, a better spouse, a better lover? What languages do you want to learn? Do you want to learn a musical instrument? Do you want to learn to write? Do you want to learn to play a particular sport or learn a particular skill? What many people don't realize about the world is that growth is a goal in itself. It's one of the key things that drive us forward as human beings, but very few people write down growth as goals. It's because the education system, which tries to teach us to grow through forced learning, makes many people dread learning. So growth becomes that second list. Now you have 2 lists, your experiences and your growth. Now you ask yourself the third question, and the third question is this: to be that man or woman who has all of these experiences, to be that man or woman who has grown in such a way, how can I give back to the world? And there's a very important reason for that question. The Dalai Lama said, if you want to be happy, make other people happy. And I believe that when you do these 3 most important questions, that third category is what truly leads to fulfillment. It's when you can take your growth, you can take your experiences and contribute to fellow souls, contribute to the human race. You've learned entrepreneurship, great, mentor someone, mentor a kid who wants to get there. You have the ability to sing, figure out how to use it to deliver, beautiful music to inspire people. So your list of contributions becomes your steps for you to give back to the world, because that takes you beyond pure happiness into fulfillment. Now, when you have this list, experiences, growth, and contribution, this becomes your goal list. Everything else is just a means goal. Now, when I started creating this, I found that it allowed me to rewire my brain, to shortcut and bypass so many bullshit rules, to go straight to these final items, to go straight to ways I could contribute, ways I could grow, ways I could have these beautiful experiences. And often these were unconventional paths. When you have done the 3 most important questions, you get to short circuit the Brules of the culturescape and figure out shorter paths towards true human fulfillment.